Now to Trump's immigration crackdown. A new CBS poll showing that while a majority of Americans support the president's goal, they are against his approach. And as Friday's clashes unfolded across LA, there was a familiar face, maybe one that you wouldn't expect, who was embedded with ICE agents during Friday's raids. It was Dr. Phil and his camera crew, who say that they got a firsthand look at the targeted operations, which ended with dozens of people being detained. He's expected to use that footage in an upcoming report, reinforcing a made-for-TV spectacle that is Trump's controversial crackdown. We have CNN chief media analyst Brian Stelter with us now. Brian, why was he there? And it's something that's highly unusual.
I think it really speaks volumes about the administration's made-for-TV strategy here. They are focused on the visual spectacle, and not just this week. We could actually see it back in the first week Trump returned to office. Dr. Phil was out in Chicago. He was embedded back then on ICE raids. This time, he was embedded at the ICE field office in LA, hanging out with Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, getting what Dr. Phil's network calls exclusive access to Homan the day before the operation. Then on Friday morning, he was there. I was told maybe even helping rally the federal officials before they headed out for the operation. And then he was with Homan again on Saturday. So as I wrote on CNN.com, Dr. Phil was out there producing a show that's going to air on his relatively small cable channel today and tomorrow. It's not about the ratings ultimately. It's about what this represents. And it represents a desire to put on a show, especially for Trump-aligned media outlets. There's a desire to show this immigration enforcement is happening. It's happening every day. And Dr. Phil is a part of that effort to televise it for the country.
What are Trump-aligned media outlets saying about this?
Well, number one, that this is going to resolve and redound to Trump's benefit. Talking about, polls that show this is the top issue. This is the area where Trump has the most support among Americans. You saw Stephen Chung, the Trump advisor, over the weekend saying, look, his approval rating on immigration is going to be even higher after the National Guard was sent to LA. So clearly the White House believes this is a winning issue. We've heard Trump and his MAGA media outlets refer to what I call the city in ruins storyline, referring to LA as a place that's in ruins, basically, and that Trump and his forces are going to liberate it and set it free again. It sounds like something out of it.
Well, why is LA considered and deemed to be on the way, on the road to being in ruins? We have to look at the leadership here, right? We can't just disregard and say that this is an isolated situation or happenstance or coincidental. When you are running one of the largest states erroneously, in my opinion, when there's no rhyme or reason to many, maybe to the citizens it makes sense, but to the onlookers, the way the media represents and portrays the state of California, there are a lot of issues. How come that's not being discussed? How come the highlight and the emphasis and the cameras are being put on the civil unrest in the environment of LA? How come the homelessness isn't being put on the same magnifying glass? How come the lack of jobs? How come the shift and the mistreatment of vets are being highlighted? How come they're using, and I wanted to show this particular clip with Dr. Phil because I remember when Trump first took office, for some reason, and I asked the same question, why is Dr. Phil there? Why is he videotaping for his personal benefit and showing them apprehending, ICE going in and raiding and apprehending what they consider to be dangerous and threatening immigrants, those that have criminal backgrounds, those that have escape somehow the penal system while being here and still getting resources, their families still being taken care of, and the like, right? So when we talk about the ICE raids, they've intensified across multiple neighborhoods in LA, leading to mass detentions and deportations. And they're upset about that. Now you got all this video footage surfacing of families being separated, homes being raided without warning, and neighborhoods in an uproar. Okay, where was this outrage and where was the support for the citizens? And I'm going there. prior to all of this taking place. With the last administration, the citizens did not feel heard. They did not feel respected. They did not feel acknowledged. They did not feel represented. Why are we in this position to now where all eyes is on how Trump is handling this instead of looking at how the situation was left for him to incur that problem or that situation? We couldn't just continue to allow all of these immigrants to come inside of this country, take care of them, and nobody knows why. Nobody's being told why. The representation is, or the narrative that was being pushed, and it has been pushed, is that this is a country for that. This is what we do here. This is how we conduct business here. This is what sets this country apart from other countries. Well, if it's to our detriment, then how's that working out for you? That's where I'm at with it. How's that working out for you? It's all about reading in between the lines and making sure that you understand from your mind logically, follow the money, follow the power, follow the agenda, look beyond the surface. Okay? It doesn't make any logical sense, nor does it seem, or would it seem, to benefit any particular country, not just our country, any country, to allow it to be a free-for-all, just to let them come across the border, no vetting process, no acknowledgement of the port of entries, to the point where you had the last administration threatening to sue the governor of Texas because he chose to enforce the laws that he was given, that the people elected. Okay? So now we're in a position where what else did you want us to do? What other recourse is there? You just want everything. At what point would this country benefit? Because it was going to hell in a handbasket from the deficit, from the homelessness situation, the housing situation, all of the prices being driven up. Because with all of these free food stamps, all of these housing vouchers, these hotel vouchers, these medical vouchers, to make sure that, they're coming over here. A lot of the people coming over here to procreate in order to establish their residency or their children's citizenship on this soil. Who's footing that bill? Who is paying for that? Nobody wants to say that wasn't eons ago. That was recently. And now nobody's really talking about that, like it just didn't happen. So all of the focus and all of the energy and all of this animosity is towards one man that inherited a problem that he is doing his best to fix the best way that he knows how, with the resources that he's being given. And instead of the previous narrative being pushed for so long, and nobody even felt like they owed the citizens, the taxpayers, the ones that pay the politicians' salaries, any explanation to pacify, to tell the truth, or even lie. They just didn't offer an explanation. It's all about the transgender community, and it was all about the immigration policies, or the lack thereof, in my personal opinion. Absolutely, beautiful one. We are paying for that. And Ms. Yo says we must remember that they're all at two wings of the same bird. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, it is, it is being said that the raids have disproportionately targeted Latino communities, which is a big portion of where this unrest is coming from. Walkouts, protests, y'all, that are turning into riots, right? How did we get here? How in the world did we get here? Are we going to ever address that? Are we just going to jump straight from this goes from a country of being the land of the free for who? For the people that come over here and don't have anything vested into this country? Because it surely doesn't feel like a land of the free for many of us that are citizens of this country and that were born here, that have a birthright here, and not just doing it as a ploy, or not just doing it as taking an opportunity because the opportunity is there for the window of time that it is there for. Okay, we talked about, we risked our national security. It is still at risk until it is under control. But LA is showing you that it's not under control. Y'all, let's continue.
Of an action movie. And even from the Defense Department earlier today, you know, the DOD's rapid response account on X saying LA is burning. Of course, Monday morning, there were no fires burning this morning in LA. So that kind of very hyped up, very hypercharged rhetoric coming from Trump, coming from his agencies, and coming from his MAGA media outlets. And I noticed, Brianna, we all live on our phones these days. We're all scrolling through social media. You've got to be careful at a delicate moment like this to look at the timestamps, look at the dates, look at when things are actually posted, and if they're really from the situation they're purporting to be. A lot of these algorithms are surfacing hours old or even days old content. So you might be looking at a video of something, wondering what's happening in LA. It's actually from 2 days ago. And that's, you know, it only matters because it can give people a false impression of what's actually happening at a moment of unrest.
And that's a great point. That is absolutely a great point. To again, reiterate and emphasize what I was saying before, is to look beyond the surface, to make sure that whatever conclusion or opinion or feeling that you're coming, to feeling, or that, how you feel about the situation, that it is justified based off of accurate information. And all the time, media is not going to give you that accurate information. It really kind of irritates me from time to time. I stopped watching the news. Now, the only reason I watch the news now is because I do content creation and I do reactions. Outside of that, I don't watch the news. I just don't, because it's like, there was a saying that was given that I heard many years ago. You got the truth, you got the lie. No, you have that side, and then the truth somewhere is in the middle, right? So you just have to really do your own due diligence, do your own research, and everybody has an opinion. But at the end of the day, we're going to be able to have to agree to disagree on a lot of things. Again, do I agree with everything about the methods, regarding the methods and how it's being done? No, I don't. At the same token, I'm not the one that's making the decisions. I'm not the one empowered to be able to make the certain calls. At the same time, I definitely am in large disagreement with the way that things have been handled up until this current administration, with the last administration, regarding the dismissiveness when it comes to the citizens of this country. I said it today, I've said it yesterday, and I will say it tomorrow, because that is exactly what has transpired. And I just saw a comment that we were the one paying for all of this. That is not coming out of certain people's pockets. That's as a cumulative in this country, it is coming out of our pockets. And at the same time, it doesn't seem like we have absolutely no say. Our word does not matter, nor are we owed any type of an explanation that does not push forward a narrative or a goal that these people are trying to achieve, in my opinion. Let's go forward a little bit and see what this is all about. Again, this is a raw reaction, so bear with me. And we're going to go through this together. Shout out to the chat. I appreciate all of y'all for being here. Thank you for the engagement in the chat. Thank you for tapping that like button. Thank you for the support. And thank you for the love. I appreciate all of y'all.
Now, Arias Cristobal was eventually released after spending weeks in detention. In Massachusetts, a high school student was arrested on his way to volleyball practice. Authorities said they were looking for Marcelo Gomez, the Silva's father, and released him after 6 days in custody. Both of these cases outraged their communities, who then rallied around the teens. Let's get some perspective from Victor Martinez. He's the radio host for Politics en Español. Victor, thank you so much for joining us. I understand that many of your listeners, including Trump supporters, are in favor of immigration enforcement, but they're troubled with how it's being carried out. And I wonder, where exactly do they believe the line is crossed?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And yes, especially Trump supporters, Latino Trump supporters here in the state of Pennsylvania, where I'm in, you can hear these Trump supporters telling us, wait a minute, this is not what I voted for. I thought he was going to get the criminals, the rapists, the murderers, the drug traffickers. not the people who are going to court under appointment and now they're being picked up in court. And that is a big frustration. That is a big part of why so many people are upset.
So on what's happening in Los Angeles, there were more than 24 people arrested for taking over the 101 highway, for throwing Molotov cocktails, for ramming police lines. I wonder if you think the president was justified in sending in the National Guard, or if you see this the way that Governor Gavin Newsom does, that this is a manufactured crisis.
Absolutely. I mean, there was no need for the president to send the National Guard. We see protests in this country in a weekly and a monthly basis. It's happening in major scales, and yet the National Guard's never used. The governor has the state police, local authorities will handle it. And if they do need the National Guard, well, that's always an option. But when was the last time that the president of the United States called the National Guard to handle something locally, protests? I'm in Pennsylvania. In Philadelphia, we had similar protests last year where people took over the highways and took over the streets. And at no moment did the governor call for the National Guard, nor the president called the National Guard.
So let's, in fairness, I want to say this is LA we talking about. I don't know what city he's speaking on in Pennsylvania, if it was Philly or not. Maybe somebody can enlighten me. But there are the population control, or the population in LA equal, just in LA County alone, equals some small states. So we have to take that into account, and the fact that this has been going on since this weekend. I don't know, again, if it was Friday or Saturday, but the fact of the matter is, it's 24, anything longer than 24 hours is going to be a growing cause of concern, if you ask me. What happened to peaceful protests? But then when you got people coming from other countries that don't have any blood in this soil per se, figuratively speaking, they're not going to have any consideration for how we do things in this country or how they've been done in the past. Do we need to revisit when it came to all of our melanated brothers and sisters being gunned down unlawfully? What happens? The treatment of them hasn't been kind. Do you see that plastered all over the news and the president being blamed? No, the people actually get blamed, in my opinion, more so than not. So we can't just ignore that and sidestep that because of the color of someone's skin or the origin of their bloodline, and then sit back and say, well, you know, it's all the current president's fault that he shouldn't have called in the National Guard. Well, maybe the National Guard needed to intervene based off of the fact that some of the footage that I've seen, that some of the mistreatment has come from the local police and law enforcement and not National Guard. So who is there to police who, in my opinion, right? Okay, so we can't just look at it through a periscope, through one lens, and say, this is what it looks like, this is what it is, and so therefore it makes him wrong because they don't agree with how he's doing it. Well, what about all the voices that cried that they didn't agree about the last administration and how they just opened up this country for mayhem to ensue and be pursued, and then when they get over here, not only to add insult to injury, but they're being taken care of, they're being given their needs and some of their wants. They're able to procreate on this soil and have the taxpayers and the civilians and the citizens of this country fund whatever they got going on. And they don't even respect the people. They don't respect the natural citizens of this country, nor do they respect the laws, because if they did, then I have to pose the question, would any of this even be going on?
Victor, if you could stand by for a moment, I just want to let our viewers know that as of a moment ago, the California Attorney General has announced that lawsuit against Trump's federalization of the National Guard, saying that Trump violated the 10th Amendment and federal law, saying that this was an unlawful action. This is obviously something that was announced would be coming by the governor of California. Now it is officially filed. I do want to ask you something, Victor, about one aspect of the protest that caught my eye and received attention from the administration, and that's protesters who are waving not only Mexican, but Guatemalan and Honduran flags, among others. The administration suggested that they are insurrectionist invaders. I wonder how you respond to that, if you see that as un-American or as a statement about cultural pride.
Absolutely, so cultural of pride, a statement of pride. I mean, we just had the Puerto Rican parade in New York yesterday, right? And all you saw along Fifth Avenue in New York were Puerto Rican flags. it's our way to show support. It's our way to be proud of where we are from, yet we are here and we are proud to be part of this community as well. And I don't doubt that it was also an opportunity for people from El Salvador or from Mexico or from Guatemala to let their fellow immigrants know, hey, we are here with you. I am from Mexico like you, I'm from Guatemala like you, and I'm here supporting you.
So when you see those images that I'm sure you've noticed, Victor, of these folks, some of them assaulting police, throwing things at police, setting fires to vehicles, throwing Molotov cocktails, what's your message to those protesters?
Stop. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're making the situation worse. You're not helping the cause. You are giving the opportunity for the president and others to say, hey, you see, look at that. It's necessary. Look, we have to call the National Guard. So if anybody out there is listening, and for whatever my message is worth, stop. It hurts the cause. We know that you're hurting. We know that you're upset. We understand. We're with you. But those type of behaviors, what they do is hurt our community, because then they get transmitted through CNN, and unfortunately, it doesn't help our community. And the point of us protesting, the point of us arguing that we are being mistreated, that we're being abused, and I just want to make it clear, our community is scared. And some people in our community have had enough. You know.
Facts. Now, he addressed the point about the law and how they have filed a lawsuit with the federal government regarding the national troops coming in. Now, some may say, follow the law and you won't have a problem. But let's talk about what the law looks like for different people. Okay? Let's cover that for a hot second. So I want to remove this. We have wealthy immigrants. We have unwealthy immigrants. But it doesn't really matter which category they fit in compared to the citizens of this country fit in, because there are a few barriers that separate them from Central and South America. One thing we can say for sure here in this country is that Black and brown communities are policed differently. Okay, when we speak, and I'm speaking of it from a grammatical, because some people don't classify African Americans Black, but for the sake of argument, that's what we're going to go with. ICE simply mirrors that pattern. It's going to emphasize and it's going to repeat what the norm is in this country. And just as I was mentioning earlier about Black people going through quiet and civil unrest and protest, the reactions are totally different, typically. But now that we have somewhat of a brown community getting the National Guard called on them, they're outraged. Where is the same voice for Black people when they are being mistreated? I want to know where this same outrage is for our veterans. Let's go there. It doesn't matter what color they are. Where is the civil treatment and the prioritization and making sure that they good when they have fought for this country and sacrificed for this country? We all either have people in the military, or we know someone, or we have loved someone or love someone that is a veteran or that is active duty. And one thing that I can say for certainty is that there is a lot of sacrifice, whether they're deployed, whether they're active duty or not. That's why they would be classified as having benefits. But when we have a percentage of them that can't afford, first of all, they don't even qualify for SNAP benefits. But when they're homeless, when they have no covering, a lot of them come back not with just physical scars, but psychological scars, mental disparities from trauma, because they fought for this country. Where is the prioritization when it comes to them? But you have all of this outrage when it comes to and I'm not being insensitive here, I am being logical in my thinking, where is that same compassion for the veterans and the outrage that we currently have for people in this LA, in this riot? This is not civil unrest. This is not us. I take that back. This is not a peaceful protest. This is a riot. They are going at it in LA, and it's around the clock. So again, the system rarely shows up with compassion. So excuse me if there's a bit of outrage when it comes to people that we have no knowledge of, that have been able to come here and benefit off of the backs of the citizens, and they're being shown compassion, even if there is an underlying mission and goal in mind. I'm not here to be insensitive to the immigration situation, but I am here to bring light to say that the citizens of this country and the U.S. residents, we matter. We matter. Our voice matters. There should be the same type of media coverage and equal footing at the end of the day, at the very least. At the very least, it should be equal. And it's not. It's not. And now Trump is being made to be the fall guy because he made an executive decision. Well, that goes along with the lines of true leadership. A lot of times you're going to do the things that are less popular for a bigger outcome. Do we always get it right? Do they always get it right? Absolutely not. But I stand behind the decisions. I just don't necessarily support all of the particular actions that are being taken. But as again, The Art of War, if you haven't read it, go read it. There are casualties of war in every war that you are a participant in or you are affected by. I'm going to go ahead and get on up out of here, and I'll see y'all in the next chat. I appreciate everybody. Peace.